So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be continuing with the series of going through some GCSE Maths higher big mark questions taken from some past papers. Now as always there'll be a copy of the questions that we go through in this video along with the mark scheme for you to download and have an attempt at before watching through this video as we go through the answers. Now before starting these big mark questions, it's always important that you try and establish what topic a question relates to. Now sometimes this is made easy, but it can be quite difficult, particularly when a question involves more than one topic. So always be mindful of that. So on that note, let's have a go at these questions. Now if you've not had an attempt at printing these questions to have an attempt at, then all you need to do simply is just pause the video, have an attempt at the question and unpause as we go through the question. So looking at question 1, it says 2 bags A and B contain beads. Bag A contains 3 red beads and 2 yellow beads. Bag B contains 1 red bead and 4 yellow beads. 1 bead is taken at random from bag A and put into bag B, and then 1 bead is taken at random from bag B and put into A. Work out the probability that bag A still contains exactly 7 red beads. So let's have a look at this current situation. So let's first of all have bag A, and we've got bag B, and I've got 7 red, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and 1 red bead in blue, in B rather, and the yellow I've got 1 2, and I've got 1 2 3 4. Now the ways of getting exactly 7 red beads in A is to one or two situations. So either I can select a yellow one first, and if I select a yellow bead first, then that means that bag B will therefore have 6 beads altogether, 5 which are yellow and 1 is red, and then selecting another yellow. So I could have a yellow or a yellow, or what I could have is I could select a red counter from A, which then increases that to there, but then I'm going to take one from B and put it back into A. So I could have an R and R. So what I then need to do is work out the probability of these sort of situations. So yellow and a yellow, well that's going to be first of all 2 out of 9, and then it's going to be 5 out of 6. And then all means plus, and then a red first is going to be 7 out of 9 multiplied by 2 out of 6. So then working these probabilities out, I've got 2 ninths times 5 6, that's going to be 10 over 54 plus 14 over 54, which leaves me with 24 over 54, or it's going to be 4 over 9. So any of those two fractions should be absolutely fine to gain 4 marks. Moving on to question 2, it says show that a minus b squared equals a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So looking at the left hand side, well that equals a minus b, a minus b. Then if I use my brackets or any way of doing it, I end up with a squared minus ab plus b squared, which equals a squared plus 2ab, or no, minus ab rather, minus 2ab plus b squared, which is what they wanted me to show. Now for b, it says that a plus b squared is 1936 and ab is 468. Work out the values of a minus b squared. So if I look at a plus b squared, well that's going to be a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, and it tells me that that's going to be equal to 1936. Now from this, what I can then do, well, it tells me that ab is 468, so a squared plus 2 times of 468 plus b squared equals 1936. So a squared plus, and if I work out what 2 lots of 468 is going to be, which is 936, so 936 plus b squared equals that. So what I end up with is a squared plus b squared equals 1000. I'm just going to put a little box around that. Then if I then look at this expression of a minus b squared, well, from part A, I know that's equal to a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So from this, if I rearrange it, I've got a squared plus b squared minus 2ab. Well, this I know is 1000 minus, and it's going to be 2 lots of 4, 6, 8. So it's going to be 1000 minus 936, which leaves me with an answer of 64. Moving on to question 3, it says this shape is made up from a semicircle and a triangle. Calculate the perimeter of the shape. So what I need to do first is I need to work out what BC is going to be. Now to do that I need to use the cosine rule. So here I've got a squared plus equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. So substituting those numbers in, I'm going to get, this is my b, that's my c, that's my a, and that's capital A. I end up with x squared equals 6 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times 6 times 11 times cos of 85. And if I type that all into my calculator, which I'm going to do now, so 6 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times 11 times 6 multiplied by cos 85, I get an answer that x squared equals 145.495442. So therefore x equals the square root of 145.495442. So x equals 12.06. Now to work out the radius or the diameter, this part here of the semicircle, well, that's the circumference of a circle divided by 2. Now the diameter I've worked out is x, so it's going to be pi times 12.06 divided by 2. So then to work out the perimeter, it's going to be 6 plus 11 plus all of that. And if I work that out, times it by plus 27, I get an answer of, let me just put that in now, and typing that all into my calculator, I get an answer of 35.9438, which rounded up gives me 35.9, and it's going to be in centimetres, and that's to 1 decimal place. Then moving on to question 4, it says that a runner starts at A. She follows this route of A to B, B to C, C to D, D to A. 3 of the distances are shown on the diagram. Work out the distance in kilometres from D to A. So we want to work out what this length here is. Now, in order to work that out, I also then need to work out what this length here is. Now, notice that that is a right angle triangle. So if I take that right angle triangle out, I can see that straight away I'm going to have to use Pythagoras to work out what x is. Now, because x is one of the shorter sides, I take away the square of the other two sides. And so 2.5 squared minus 2 squared gives me an answer of 2.25. So x equals square root of that, which is 1.5. So I can write this as 1.5. Then if I take that triangle out, this triangle here, I know this length is 1.5, this length is 3.4, and let's call this side y, which is AD. So then here I've got 3.4 squared plus 1.5 squared equals AD squared. So 3.4 squared plus 1.5 squared, and then square root the answer. I should have an answer that AD equals 3.7 kilometers, and that's to 1 decimal place. Then moving on to our last question, it says the diagram shows two positions A and B of a boat directly towards a lighthouse CD. The vertical height of the lighthouse is 38.3. The angle of elevation from C to A from A is 12, and the angle of elevation of C from B is 20 degrees. Now what they've done is they've nicely drawn that into a diagram for me, and the question is asking me to work out the distance between A and B. So first things first, what I need to do is I need to take the right angle triangle out of the question. So what I need to do is I need to work out what this distance here is. So if I just draw that triangle out again and label this as BD, this is X, that's 38.3, and this angle here is 20. So labeling up, this is the opposite, that's the adjacent, that's the theta. So it's going to be tan 20 equals 38.3 over X. So I can then work out what X is, so it's going to be 38.3 over tan 20. So X equals, and I can type that straight into my calculator, 38.3 divided by tan 20 gives me an answer of 105.22, or 23 I should say. So then taking out the other triangle, so let's look at this triangle here, and this angle here is 12, this is 38.3, and let's call this side here Y. So again I'm going to use tan, so it's going to be tan 12 equals 38.3 over Y. So Y equals 38.3 divided by tan 12. So Y equals, and it gives me 180.19. So then work out A to B, or D. That's going to be the difference between my two lengths. So it's going to be 180.19 minus 105.23, and that gives me an answer of around about 74, or I'd say 75.0, and that's going to be meters, and that's to 1 decimal place.